everyone, welcome back to CDT. It is me, Ditto. Long-term reviews number 4. I don't know what to say. There's one new car joining us today, the Porsche Mission X, so here's what bloody hell. Here's what I've been getting up to with it. I seem to remember when I first reviewed this car that I didn't like it very much. Anyway, now I've fully upgraded it, you know, brakes, tyres, engine, or, well, battery and motor. And now I quite like it. I think it's good. There is still one problem. You see, it's in the form of when you brake and steer. You can do this and spin it. Now, that's not a very good thing, because it shows you that there isn't enough grip. But it also doesn't drift properly, so yeah, as it turns out, I think I was right by not liking this. You can still drift it pretty well, but like, no, just not the best. Shame. Still, at least Porsche makes one good electric car. Hello, Mission R. Oh, and the Tycoon. Now, back to the cars that, are in long-term review. With this, the Fiat Tractoply. I have swapped front-wheel drive onto this thing. Because that's what a standard multiplier has. Front-wheel drive. And you wouldn't believe me when I told you this, but I think it's more fun like this. It's slightly more terrible. The thing is lethal. You go through a corner, no grip, and it's horrible, but that makes it much more fun, and I like it this way. And yet again, I've swapped the paint scheme, because I just can't decide on a proper paint scheme for this car, because it looks good with so many different combos. Now, the 911R Ren Sport. I've swapped all-wheel drive onto it. It's fast now. It's really, really incredibly quick. But unfortunately, I don't like the handling anymore. The handling doesn't feel good. I've also put better brakes on it, and that has helped, but it just understeers everywhere. So this is more for drag racing. Which is fine, I guess. But this is a track car, not a drag car. Oh, and speaking of drag racing, this Mercedes CLR may seem perfectly ordinary, but I've swapped all-wheel drive onto it, and it's turned it into one of the fastest accelerating road cars in the game. Seriously, I reckon that with a higher top speed, this thing could be so good in drag racing. I mean, even now it does 10.2s, but that's on a half mile. On a quarter mile, RTR. I reckon it could easily beat an RTR. I haven't done a test yet for it. I'll show you that next week. But I do reckon that this thing could beat an RTR on a quarter mile. That's how quick this thing is. The Porsche 963. I really don't have much to say on this car. Quite simply because I've found out that there's a better version of it. The Ferrari 499P, which I prefer. So, effectively this is just a way of rendering the 963 useless. With a Ferrari. Shame, but I don't care. The 963 was already useless already because there was already a better Porsche Le Mans car in the game. The 919. And also the 917 Kurtzek in my opinion. Now, the VW IDR. I think I might have spoken about this problem in the original review, but there is a problem with the lower bodywork. You see all these lovely racing skirts? What happens when I turn? They just clip into the floor. Which means that it just looks like it's a really glitchy model. I don't like it. Foxy, can you please add collision to the lower skirts on the body? make it look decent. Peugeot 9X8. I've spent the last 2 weeks trying to figure out a car to compare it to, and there quite simply isn't one. It was 6.8 million and absolutely perfect. Seriously, I can't think of a fault with this car. What a brilliant, brilliant thing. If you can think of a car to compare it to, tell me, please, because I honestly can't. It's just that good. And it's a Peugeot. I've discovered how good the Mitsubishi Eclipse actually is as a drift car. This is it with spiked tyres. It's really good. But wait, there's more. Standard tyres. Now it's really good. I cocked that up slightly, but it's really good as a drift car. I like it better with spiked tyres, but normal tyres work really well as well, and even racing tyres are decent, so maybe I have finally found a use for the Eclipse. I'm starting to like it. It's growing on me, got to admit. The Mustang GT500. I've discovered a couple of things on this car that I don't really like. Number one, the wrap. I can't change the main body colour from this grey. I want the body colour to be white, but it won't let me. Shame. And the other one is, this just looks like a really cheap model of the other Mustang. Look, this one. This looks like the proper model, this one looks like the fake. In fact, this one looks even better. This is probably the worst looking of the modern Mustangs. Instead of looking, you know, muscular, like a muscle car should, it just looks fat. Well, makes sense considering it's from America. The Bentley Mulliner Bacala, a car I love because it's terrible. Seriously. I've had to apply the wrap because, otherwise it just looks like my Continental GT Cabriolet. You know, the one from the, town hall event. Anyway, I've got to admit, this car, I don't know why I like it. Other than that, it's just a really good cruiser. It's just, I don't think there's another car in CDT that feels the way this does. This one feels special. Unique. So, very interesting. Especially since it's basically a VW. Now, the RSR Turbo. Did you know that this car has custom suspension? You should have been watching my original review video then. Kidding. But that original suspension, you know, the completely custom suspension, is very bouncy. The car's quite slippery, but it's also extremely bouncy. The entire car feels like it's made out of rubber. Interesting. Still, just feels like a knockoff RWB to me. Love from an RWB fan. And finally, the Lycan Hypersport. I just don't feel much with this car. There's already a car very much like it that I spoke about last time it appeared in long-term reviews, the Bugatti La Voiture Noire. But I had got a picture of it and the Fenrir next to each other, which is one of the daily CDT photos. Number 80 something, I think. To be honest, I'd rather have the Fenrir. I've driven a Fenrir. It's just much better. So, worse Fenrir. What a shame for the Lycan, because I actually prefer the Lycan more in real life. Oh well. And that's all for the increasingly large long-term reviews number 4. These long-term reviews are getting quite big, apart from last week's. Anyway, thank you for watching. And on that bombshell, here's a BMW Z4 doing a drift. Amazing.